Alright guys, today I have the ultimate guide for building a black loadout in CS2 as of July 2025. I must say, compared to the other colors like your more popular red, blues, greens and so on, this is very different with limited options and some weird jumps in prices, but it will be timestamped down below. We're going to get straight into it with the cheap and budget friendly loadout. Now I'll detail some agents at the end of this, but for a cheap loadout, really there's one option you want to go for, and the gloves are going to be unhinged Broken Fang gloves. They come in at about $95, heavily black with a bit of grey and silver on them. They're going to do the job at the budget level, but I actually think you get a really nice set of knives, because I say knives because you've got Shadow Daggers, vanilla. These are $142 and they are full blacked out. Like, it's really nice. Now with these gloves, I personally would prefer to run something like a survival vanilla because it gets a bit of silver shine on it, but obviously I said to go in black laminates. $142 for the Shadow Daggers is fantastic value, and that's where a lot of our budget's going to go, and we're going to go for cheap pickups elsewhere. So for example, the USP, you're going to want to go for the Ticket to Hell. Now this is where we're going to have a conversation about this for the black loadout. And yes, the joke can be made that you could just use default skins because most of those are black, blah, 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 blah. But if you actually want nice artwork and whatnot, you're going to have to go to this area where, like the Ticket to Hell, it's got black base with some color on top. You're going to see maybe black base with two different colors on top. That's the areas we have to work around when there's limited options. But the Ticket to Hell is still a fantastic pickup. The other thing you will see consistently is the likes of the Catacombs, where it's like black with silver or black with grey. And the fact this is only 40 cents is why I'm going to feature it, because I think when you look at it with the gloves and you go for a black loadout, when this is like the budget level best you can do, it's holding up pretty well. And then the budget level deagle is going to be the light rail. Now the thing with this one for me is this is obviously it's a heavy black skin, if we're being honest, but it does go into that sort of fade of the yellowy into the ambery orange on the end of the gun. But overall, on a cheap budget level, $1.38 for this in minimal wear is just very, very good value to pick up. Now, the AK option, I am very, very aware that this slate exists, but there's a cheaper option that I want to showcase on the cheap loadout, and that is the Elite build. Now, this is a black, grey with orange accent skin, but it still definitely counts as black. If you go into CSGO skins.gg, it will list it as black as well, and it's $2.16. As I say, a field tested slate would not be that much more, so if you want full blackout vibes, you can go for that, but I want to leave the slate for a later version. And there's something you just don't naturally find when you're doing this cheap loadout, is you end up with a lot of skins that are like black with orange tints. We've had the Elite build, we now have the Nitro at 95 cents, we even had the Light Rail, which is like that yellowy orange amber vibes, and this is under $1 for minimal wear. The black is a bit of a weird black in CS2 now, I can't lie, but it's still going to do the job for us quite nicely. Now, I can't say I like the cheap Empire 4 choice because it's the main frame. It's 21 cent factory new, like it's going to do the job for us, but I don't love it by any means. Over in the op, you get a nice option with the likes of the Black Nile. Now, I've picked it in minimal wear, which is $3.20. You could save more money by going field test it and so on into Battle Scarred, but it then starts to go a little bit bronzy. So I thought minimal wear was the best point here. Heavy black, some bronze accents. I say, for all the options that exist, it's going to do the job the best. MP9 though, really like the suggestion because we have the featherweight here. It's literally only 8 cents and it's a black skin that has white accents throughout it, but there's no arguing that this isn't a black skin, and for 8 cents, man, like, it's just going to fit in so nicely. And I'm already preparing myself for the comments for skins like the Ensnared, because this is a black skin. However, it is black with this sort of cloudy white grey with some blue accents, but it's predominantly black, and it's 7 cents for minimal wear, so we're all 100% going to have it here in the cheap loadout. And then on the P250 side, to end things off, we're going to go for the Rebuild. Now, there's definitely a conversation, however, in this being a bit more greyish, but for 9 cents again, to fill that really low budget area for us, I'm going to run with it, because what this means is for the knife and glove combo and all these weapon skins, the cheap black loadout comes out under $250. Now, getting a knife and glove combo in the current mess of the market and getting skins for every key weapon that you have for under $250 is pretty solid going, and you know that was a view and a half there. Now, that's the cheap loadout out of the way. Now we're going to move on to the value for money loadout, where I think you get some of the best picks across the board. Now, to kick it off, we are going to change to the Smokeout Moto Gloves, and I am going to grab them in minimal wear. I know these hold up well in field tested, but when minimal wear is $405 and they look so clean, I feel like we just need to have it in there as a consideration. Like, these are super clean $400 gloves, and then you want to pair it with a black laminate. Now, the more common pairing with these gloves would be an Urban Mask, but obviously that's going black and grey, black and white, so getting a full black blade, and then the handle has that little bit of white in it to sort of toy in with the accent colour on the gloves. I think it looks pretty damn good. And then the USP, we're going to go for the stainless. Obviously, this has two very strong black colors on it, and then has the silver bit sort of in between it. The full blackout suppressor is actually really mean looking, so I'm a big fan of this one. And then we're going to go to the red tire, but we're going to go for the souvenir version. And I'm actually generating the stickers so you can see what it looks like here. This is one where you probably want to scrape the stickers off the souvenir, maybe everything except for the map sticker, just because that's the one you can't add back onto it. But this is what keeps the cost down, and it is a pattern based skin, so you can go full black mode or close to full black. You can get one that has more red pattern in it, but on the Glock side, this is pretty much your best option outside of the Catacombs if you wanted to upgrade. And then we're going to get right into the mixer with the best Black Desert Eagle you can buy, which is the Conspiracy. Now, you want it in Factory New because it does not wear kindly, and that's going to run you $11.60. But this is essentially your like end game Black Desert Eagle. I do have one upgrade option, but I think this personally is better. Now, that slate that you anticipated in the last loadout, I'm actually going to have here with the value for money loadout because it's $5.90 minimal wear. As I say, you could get field tested and use that for the cheap loadout, but it's at this point, this is perfect. Like, this is realistically, if you're building a black loadout, this is the AK that you should be using, right? I'm going to keep that the same for the expensive and the ultimate loadouts. While I show more expensive options, if you want full black, the slate is just the right pick. And then, this looks fantastic with the gloves, I gotta say. We have the Basilic mix, which is $8.90 in minimal wear. It's got the black, it's got the grey. The actual Basilic on it itself looks really mean. You don't want to craft over this because, like, it's just, it looks so clean for what it is. I've always been a big fan of this skin. I think it's a bit of a sleeper, so glad I can give it some love here. I'm fine to have a conversation argument with you over this one. CSGO Skins GG lists this as being a black skin. However, I'm going to argue that it's more like bronzy sort of color, bronzy brown, but it deems it as black, and I'm gonna be real. Unless you want to stay with the mainframe, you don't really have many other options. So I would just like, I'd get this and just kind of like vibe it out because it's got nice artwork compared to the mainframe. An upgrade that I do like compared to the Black Nile is going for the Arsenic Spill. Now, it's not too much more expensive. It's $6.20 for Factory New, and I just like it in Factory New, try and get as least scuffs as possible. This is obviously black and grey camel pattern with yellow accents through it. But the max yellow, there's actually a full site dedicated to this. Like, the max yellow percentage you can get on the body is under 2% of yellow. So while you are dealing with the secondary colour here, it is heavily black and grey. Now, if the featherweight wasn't your cup of tea, maybe it had too much white accent going on in it, you can go for the Dart for 65 cents in minimal wear. It was essentially your go-to suggestion for a budget MP9 before the likes of the featherweight came out. So, you know, I just had to show that small upgrade path. And then speaking of small upgrade paths, we have the Mac 10 Lightbox for a whole 14 cent in minimal wear. This obviously is one with accent colors being purple. However, the majority of the skin is black, and with the smokeout gloves, I'm actually a really big fan of this, and the smokeout gloves the last couple months have really been growing on me. I think there's a lot you can do with them, and they offer a bit of versatility into the loadouts, especially when the Nox gloves are just getting absolutely ridiculous prices. And then we're going to have the metallic DDPAT P250 to end it off. Now, I wasn't sure how this was going to look, but actually seeing it in idle, I'm actually quite happy with it. Obviously, when you inspect it, you get a bit more silver and shine, but in idle with the gloves, even reloading, it's definitely holding up nicely with the gloves. Now, the thing here is, this loadout is pretty much $800. Now, if you aren't aware, normally for the cheap loadout, I aim for $250 to $300, and then for the value for money, kind of like $750 to $1,000. So we're well in that. And honestly, AK Slate, M4 Basilic, you got the Legal Conspiracy, you got the USP Stainless. Like, there's just good skins across the board here with minimal wear gloves. And before I end the waffling for value for money and we jump into expensive, what I do want to say is, to build your best black loadout, and it's also going to be then dependent on your budget, what you want to go and do is basically take a combination of stuff between the cheap loadout and the value for money and the expensive and make it work for you. But what I will say is the value for money loadout it does have a lot of what I'm going to deem the best picks that I think you should be going for. Now, jumping across to the expensive loadout, we're going to stay with a black laminate knife, but let me cover the gloves first, because we're going to change to the driver gloves, black tie. Now, honestly, the only reason I'm really featuring them here is because they go to $730, and it's a significant increase. Personally, I prefer the smokeouts, but you guys can let me know your preference in the comments down below. But we do go for a big knife upgrade. We're going to go for a Factory New M9 bayonet black laminate, which is $1,265. So, a significant upgrade, but the black lam M9 just looks super, super sick. And then the USP upgrade, we can debate if it's an upgrade or not, is we're going to go for the Dark Water. Now, this is listed as a grey skin, but it does have black throughout it, and this is more so getting to the point where, like, you're wanting to buy skins that are maybe a bit rarer, have more value for that little bit of flex, where I think Stainless, again, this is where I'm saying the value for money's got the best picks, because I think the Stainless is better, but this would be your upgrade path. And to be honest, you have budget to do this in the value for money loadout, because it's only $4.15 to go for the non-souvenir red tie, so you could spend the extra $3 no problem and get it in the value for money loadout. But here, that's what we're going to do, and you can see what I mean. You will be able to get this in patterns that vary a little bit. The last one we showed had like the B-site logo, or it looked like a B-site logo anyway, on the pattern itself. Our next skin is going to be a repeat. We're going to have the Desert Eagle Conspiracy again, exact same price as before, $11.60, obviously all the same day. It's not changed. I will have an upgrade for this in the Ultimate Loadout, so stick around for that, but again, this is the best Black Desert Eagle in the game. Now, as I say, this is about forcing upgrades where maybe you don't need to, and this is where like the red line and minimum wear for that whopping $270 could be a suggestion for you. It is just, it's a hefty upgrade. It's $264 more than what the slate would be. You do get carbon fiber black across a lot of it, which is kind of cool. And then you got red accents. So like if you wanted to play into a craft that had accent colors, you at least have that option. But just to reinforce that the slate is pretty much the correct black AK pick in every case. Now, speaking of the big upgrades, we're going to go for the Emperor A1S Dark Water. This is where it's getting into this conversation of why I think the Moto Smoke gloves are better. Because it's got like the multiple shades of black, white, some bits of grey. It means when you use skins like this, you get a little bit sort of a colour palette where the driver gloves blacks have become very muted, is that the word? Yeah, muted, I'd say, in CS2 compared to how they looked in CSGO. But the reason I'm showcasing them is whenever I've suggested that the Smokeouts are the best budget version for Black and White, so a lot of people say a lot about the driver gloves, so I felt obligated to include it. And then for the Emperor A4, we're going to go for the Desert Strike. Now, this is, again, forcing an upgrade for a bit of spend. To be honest, it is definitely more black than the Edgelord. That is for sure, but also has more accent color this time in that sort of tanny beige vibe. Now, we did have it on the AK before, but an elite build op is a solid upgrade path if you wanted something that was just a bit more expensive, or maybe you don't vibe with the arsenic spill or the black. Now, this again, like the AK, it's going to be black and grey throughout with that orange accent. So again, it's setting you up, I think, like an orange sticker on the scope, an older orange sticker on the scope would be kind of banging here. And then to continue that vibe I joked about earlier of black and then having orange accents being pretty common, we have the MP9 Rose Iron, which is $9. It is a black base skin with a rose and then orange or thorns coming off it. You can't argue with me that this is not a black skin. Obviously, just in idle, you are going to see a lot of purple color as well. And then we finally get to what I think is the best Mac 10 to be using, and it is the Whitefish. Now, minimal wear, it will only cost you 29 cents. And actually, this was the light box. I was vibing with the light box, and I'm saying this is the best. I think I would maybe buy both and rotate between them, if that's an option. And then for the P250, we're going to sit in a bit of a grey area. I did not mean the pun, but we're going to go for the cartel. $8.35. Obviously, it's heavily grey silver with black accent. But if you want if you really want an upgrade, you don't want the rebuild, you don't want the metallic TD pack, this is your next jump up. And what does that mean total loadout cost? That means we're going from an $800 loadout all the way to a $2,533 loadout. So it is a significant jump up, but it is cheaper than some of the other expensive loadouts we've done so far on this series. And that means we got one thing left to do, and it's go and look at the ultimate black loadout. And just a caveat, reminder, I think likes of the Basilic and the Slate probably should be included here, but we're just going mad for the money. So what you're going to see, and oh my god, it does look clean. These are tier 3 Nox, which come in minimal wear just under the $1,900 mark. Now, I would say go get tier 1. Tier 1 would be better. I personally had tier 1 myself, but tier 3 for baseline pricing, that's what I was able to find on a marketplace for this exact price. So I'm happy to use it. And then I'm actually going to pair it with the Karambit Vanilla, which is $2,350. You might have expected the black laminate to continue, and that would be a cheaper option. But there's something about how this Karambit blade looks in idle, like that. It comes together so fucking nicely that it just has to be the best combination here. And the only repeat skin that I think we have, okay, no, there's one other repeat skin. There's 2 repeat skins. This is the first one off them. It's going to be the Dark Water USP. Let's go on to the interesting stuff. Now, I may have only recently found out, and I don't know how I've missed it for so long, but the Dragon Tattoo is actually pattern based, and I'm going to suggest it here for basically $110 in factory new. Now, yes, I am aware it's got the grey, blacky base, it's got silver on the top, and then a bit of black, but you cannot argue with me that it doesn't look pretty damn good with the Nox, so we're just going to vibe it out. Now, I am baffled that I've had 2 videos in a row where I'm actually showcasing this skin, but we have the Desert Eagle Blaze up next. This would be what I deem your absolute ultimate Desert Eagle for a black loadout, and that is because it is a black base skin massively, and it's a very nice shade of black, but it's $755. I would personally probably rather use the light rail, and I would definitely rather have the conspiracy in here because it is more black overall. And then the AK choice, I think is going to be interesting for some of you guys, because I'm actually going to suggest the Vulcan in this case because it is predominantly a black skin. I think it's actually placed as black, white, and blue, or black, blue, and white. Black is the first color for it, and it's definitely black overall on the base. And you got the accent colors of the white and the blue coming through. So this is well with the Nox. A little bit of carbon fiber vibes. You got a little bit of accent color to play with to spice up the loadout. It's going to cost you almost $1,000, but it looks so mean with the Nox. And you pull it like a vanilla Karam, but like this is just a mean combination you're seeing here, like Blaze, Vulcan, vanilla, like. And then to really take the piss, we're going to go for a $4,450 plus M5S in the night. Heavily black base with gold accents. It featured last week in the Ultimate Gold loadout. I'm going to keep it real. I think going for a basket would be more fun here. Maybe trying to do a custom craft on it. But, you know, if you're going ultimate, you got money to burn, you want to flex, this is going to be the choice. Now, as we got away with it for the AK, I'm going to actually sort of go a bit over the top and suggest the cybersecurity for the M4A4. Now, you need to hear me out on this. What are our options been so far? A mainframe that looks like shit, an Edgelord which is not really black, and then a Desert Strike which is black and tan but not for everyone. This skin at least gets like the black that's on it is a really nice dark black that pairs in with all the other blacks that we have going on in the loadout. The thing is, obviously, it has a lot of color in the middle, but look at the, just zoom in on where the hands are gripping it here and what you see in idle. Like, there's a solid amount of black that I'm going to claim it. And surprisingly, this op doesn't classify as black on CSGO skins. I'm not sure why, but for $161.50, I'm going to pick the Graphite as your ultimate endgame op. And you know what? I don't think it's worth spending $161 on, personally. I would not be able to do it myself. But I can't deny that with the Nox, this just looks fucking mean and sick. Like, this is just such a cool combination to have. And it's aware you don't necessarily have to go for flashy colors to be rocking a absolutely mentally cool loadout. And keeping up this sort of black grey vibe, we're going to go for the Dark Age MP9. This is purely a flex pickup. It's $142. We are... I mean, I think it's fair to say that I think any of the other MP9s, well, maybe not the Rose Iron, but the Dart and the Featherweight, probably better argument for it. But, you know, vibe it out, spend the money. Our second duplicate skin, but has a change from minimal to factory new, is going to be the Whitefish. It takes it to 95 cent. Job's good, and I've already waffled about it enough. And then the P250 is going to be the Facets. Now, this is factory new $30. It's float capped at 0.06, which means the factory new price is significantly higher than the minimal wear, but we're going baller mode. We're going ultimate at this point, so you're going to pick it up. But what does that mean for the total loadout cost? Well, you would go to just over the $11,000 mark for this. Now, I gotta say, some of the other ultimate loadouts have been coming in at 20,000 plus, 30,000 plus. So $11,000 to get tier 3 Nox min wear with a Karambit vanilla, and then let's be real, 6 skins around it. Like, it's actually a pretty sick loadout. So there you go, you've got the cheap, value for money, expensive, and the ultimate loadouts. All sort of, the final thing to do is sort of to skim over the agents quickly, and I'm going to do that on the website. Now, the reason I'm not including this in the base pricing is because I think the agent prices are getting a little bit ridiculous recently. Also, if you're someone that plays officials, you're not able to use the agent. So I'm just going to run through what my suggestions would be. We'll do CT first, and there's one very obvious option that I'm going to go straight to, and it's surprising what price, what fucking, almost $19. This is wild. Absolutely baffling that this is $19. Michael Cypher's FBI Sniper, it's greyish black, but his sleeves would match him with the gloves decently, and that's the main thing you're going to see. And really on the CT side, that is the best option. You can maybe try to go for like D Squadron Officer with like the grey brown camo, but I think FBI Sniper would be the right pick. So Osiris would be one of them, and I think with Nox gloves, for example, could look really cool. If you're going like outside of skin tone and maybe like accessories that would pair, the only other option I think would work would be going for, yeah, it's going to be going for Sir Bloody Silent Darrell, because silver accents at least look pretty good with the black loadout. There we go, plenty of waffle for you guys about the best black skins, and I will have a link for every other color theme down below that we've done these ultimate guides for. All I'm going to say now is a big thank you to the YouTube members that continue to support the channel. We have a custom viewer loader coming out next for you guys, and it's a member. You got to skip the queue, so I'm excited to share that one with you guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you're into it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.